Hey guys, welcome to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm Fox.
I'm Dez.
And yeah, we're here to talk about some cool stuff. I don't really ever know what to say.
Yeah, I was literally thinking this, like we are bad. Like we have our intro set,
yeah.
but like post intro,
I'm bad at the intro, so I always focus on it. And then after that, I'm like, yeah, talking.
I don't have anything to say
That's
either.
what we're here to do.
I'm good at the intro, and I have nothing to say after that.
Yeah.
Delve deep into the details of pop culture. Remember, save games, save lives. Bye.
Just 20 minutes of dead air. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna give it up. I got nothing.
Yeah. Okay. No, actually, I do want to continue a topic. Fox and I were talking about this beforehand, but then he saw a movie today, and we were talking about it. And I'm like, no, let's talk about it in the podcast. What would you watch, Fox?
I saw the movie A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
Which is based on a children's book from like the 60s, I think. It's relatively
Is it really that old?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I might have read it when I remember reading Phantom Tollbooth, which I think I kind of, I don't know if you ever read that one.
No.
I think they're very similar in concept, like just the idea of wordplay, but also this like fantastical story. Anyway, the movie was bad. It was a bad movie. To give you an idea, the director, Ava DuVernay, I'm sure she's a very nice lady. She seems very nice from the interviews I've seen, but she also has proudly stated, like, I didn't go to film school and I never picked up a camera till I was 32. Follow your dreams or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get that, but also that's a red flag,
Yeah.
Disney. Disney, you need to stop. Get Jon Favreau. He seems to want to do whatever you
I didn't go to medical school, and I didn't pick up a scalpel until I was 32. Can I do surgery on
no.
you?
Follow your dreams, nurse.
All right, where are the scissors?
It was bad. Nothing in it was explained, really. So it has this like idea of, they call it, there's a tesseract, by the way, which just screams Disney to me now, like with Marvel.
What if Wrinkle in Time is going to play into the Marvel universe?
It really shouldn't.
Like Thor's going to be there like, oh, we need to Oprah Winfrey.
Mrs. Who? Let's get her. She's one of the cosmic entities they bring in to take down Thanos. But she's not Mrs. Who. She's Oprah.
Right, Oprah Winfrey.
Just call up Oprah. Anyway, yeah, it's this weird idea where it combines. So there's this idea of science where, like, if we hit the right frequency with, it doesn't explain it. So it's just like, her dad's a scientist, and he has this idea that they can teleport across the universe by hitting a frequency, a sound frequency, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't explain it. And then he does, and he's missing. Like, the idea is that he did that, and he's been missing for 4 years. Then all of a sudden, these weird cosmic entity people, Mrs. Who and Mrs. Witch and Mrs. What's-It, show up, and they can do that too. But they're not scientists, and so they just have magic powers. And it never really explains like why he can't just teleport back if he knows what he's doing, because once, I'm not going to spoil it, but it never don't see it, but I'm not going to spoil it.
In case you make a very bad choice.
Well, yeah, if you wait till it's like on Netflix, which inevitably it'll be on Disney's streaming service.
Yeah, because by that time,
time they'll have it. They'll have it pretty soon. Anyway, it was bad. Nothing to explain. And the worst part was, well, I can't say the worst because most of it was the worst part. But
the worst part was the movie.
It was called A Wrinkle in Time. No, the little kid in it, the littlest kid, there are several child actors. They're all not great, and the littlest one is the most annoying person ever. Like, I'd rather have like young Anakin. That might be exaggerating.
That's saying a lot.
But also, he was really annoying. And one of the other main characters, if he wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't have changed. The movie would have been exactly the same. He is
literally a useless character.
Along for the ride, literally. And he does nothing of consequence ever.
We were talking about
is bad. Don't watch it.
The book covers that you put
the
up.
book covers,
and in every single one, there's like some evil guy in the background and a winged centaur.
A winged centaur, and I don't know who either of those characters are after watching this movie. Which I am not against changing a movie or changing a story to make it work better for the screen. But generally, if a character's on every edition of the book that comes out,
it must be an important character.
and maybe they should be in there to make it a better story.
Did you ever see slash read Percy Jackson?
No,
And
I neither.
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 So, my favorite thing to do is for people who have seen the Percy Jackson movie. I said, "Have you read the book?" No, I haven't. Well, in the book, Ares is the main villain, and Ares is really
course.
who you got to go after.
Of course.
And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, wait, Ares wasn't in the movie at all." And you're like, "Yeah, exactly." Like the villain,
Yeah.
like it would be like removing Darth Vader from Star Wars. like you what? What?
That's not Star Wars anymore.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you could make a Star Wars without him. They have, but the movie Star Wars was about Darth Vader. Like,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, so it was bad. So don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
Anyway, what have you been up to lately?
Mostly rewatching Firefly.
Oh, yeah?
I got my
It's been a
wife.
while since I have.
My wife and I got I got my wife the Blu-ray special edition
Nice.
for Christmas.
Does it have anything new on
And
it? Or?
so just a lot of like there's commentary on every episode now.
Sold.
Yeah.
From
and
who? From Joss Whedon? or-
it depends.
Producers?
Some are just producers,
Okay, well,
directors,
it's
things
sold,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, writers. So it's commentary in every episode now, and then I think there's one like looking back on Firefly talk, and it has like a few of the actors and whatever. So, but just watching it again, you can really see how good Joss Whedon is.
Yeah, he's a good writer.
He's so good at what he does.
Yeah.
And like I watched that movie and I see how it built so much of Joss Whedon's confidence for other things that he's done, because he purposely points at tropes. Like
And
he'll point at
says,
them and then he'll kick them.
Yeah.
Like he'll be like, nope. Like,
Right.
like, look, no, Jane. This is something the captain has to do for himself.
It's really not.
No, it isn't. Oh, like things like that. Or we watched the movie right afterward, and then it's like,
so
look,
good.
if anything goes wrong, I want you to take the ship, and you
come
come and you
rescue
rescue me.
Yeah, and also that's something he would say, and also more logical.
Yes.
Come get me.
Yeah,
I don't want to die.
and he does this
Great.
so
Oh,
often.
man, Serenity is such a good movie.
Well, and you can absolutely see, and I know that my wife and I saw Serenity before we saw Firefly.
Okay.
And we went and we watched Serenity, and I was like, the cinematography is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whoever the cinematographer
Yeah.
is in that movie.
That opening shot.
Yes.
The one long take throughout the whole set is so cool.
Yes. I agree. And I, specifically that, I remember after the title screen comes on, it says Serenity, me saying, leaning over my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, and saying, that could be the best intro I've ever seen in a movie.
It's engaging, introduces you to every character, and it doesn't really introduce the plot because the plot hasn't been introduced yet. But like, it's efficient and interesting.
Excuse me.
It's like the perfect sweet spot of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Where nothing is wasted, but you're also interested in what's happening.
It's
Because you can
so
skip
good.
over dialogue and make it like more, just okay, here's the story, but it's boring because it's just somebody talking, or you can just like not have a story and make it fun, like a action scene. That is both, where you're like interested in what's happening. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, and just how there's this opening segment that's like, oh, this is a plot device. Oh, no, it's a Nightmare from River. Oh, no, this is a video playback. Like,
Right.
And they're just kind of like stringing you
pulling
along.
out
Yeah.
several-
Oh, it's so
several different.
good.
Yeah, and the villain is one of the best villains.
Yes.
ever.
He's
The
so
operative
self-aware.
is super cool. He's
Yeah.
also he was Baron Mordo, or just Mordo. I guess he's not Baron Mordo in
in
Doctor
Doctor
Strange.
Strange, yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, but when he's fighting. Oh, when he attacks the workshop guy, like toward the end,
Mm-hmm.
after he's like, "Oh, we need less wizards" or whatever, he does the same exact like.
Oh, does he really
cluster
cluster
move?
nerve stab?
I don't
or
know if that was on
whatever?
purpose, but it's like, that's awesome.
But no, his self-awareness. He says like,
I'm a monster.
yeah, I'm a monster. I'm not going to be part of my
Yeah,
new world.
I think it's
I'm
gonna
a
be better,
monster.
but it's not. It's not a place for me.
He says, make no mistake, Mel. I am evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is bold, but it worked really well.
Yeah, did a great job with that. I think more serious storytelling is something that's becoming more common these days.
Well,
Like, I mean, obviously there's been very good storytelling for a very, very long time.
There's always been good.
Right, good storytelling.
bad.
But trying to make serious storytelling more accessible and being able to say last week we talked about DC superhero girls.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago we talked about DC superhero girls and how it's well written. And they take these stories seriously, and it's a cartoon for 9 to 11-year-old girls.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Like that. Yeah, that's my least favorite part about that. I think that might be my least favorite thing about A Wrinkle in Time. Not to harp on this movie, but it seemed like they wanted to be inclusive. They wanted to inspire young people. They wanted to which is fine.
Right.
But you need to make it a better movie.
Yes.
It's like the new Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. I am all for female cast. I don't care, really. That's great. Do it. But
Make
you
it
made
better.
a bad movie. And that's worse. Like, now you're just saying, oh, you don't like it because you're a sexist. And like, nope, that's a cop-out. Like,
Yes.
you made a bad movie. I don't
Yeah.
care if there are women or men or both or whatever. Just make a good movie and also inspire. It's very possible.
You can
and just
do both.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Black Panther.
Black Panther's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, very inclusive, obviously. Even pokes fun at white people in a way that's not like, look at all these crackers walking, you know? And he calls the guy like a colonist, which is a relevant term because it takes place in Africa. And he's not, I guess Martin Freeman's not, he's British, but not in the movie, he's CIA.
Right.
But anyway, like, yeah, serious storytelling is a thing that is apparently, hopefully becoming more important. It definitely is in like video games, I think.
Yes. So, and in
last
fact, let's
year-
move on to our topic with that.
Right, yeah. Last year we had several games that came out that were like even Horizon. Horizon
Yes.
was such a good movie, or a game. It was fun and ridiculous in some ways. You're fighting giant robot dinosaurs, but also you genuinely care about. I cared about Aloy.
Yeah.
I wanted to know where she came from.
Well,
I wanted
fantastic
to know.
voice actress.
Right,
Fantastic
right.
voice actress. Did a
It's-
great job
yeah, definitely
building
with,
this
with
character.
Hellblade. Like when you
Melina
look at
Juergens.
the concept,
I love you, Melina.
when you look at the concept, it's like this, like she's going into, it's like, I mean, it's a little more serious. It takes the idea more seriously, but she's like got the head of her dead boyfriend or something.
Right.
And you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. But no, you care about what's going on.
So much.
And yeah, like I'm really interested. I think what we want to talk about today is that idea of, as the industry grows up, as in like the people making video games, because it's now been 30 to 40 years since the game industry really got going, and people who were in it then are still in it today a lot of time. Shigeru Miyamoto is in his 60s now, still making games.
Such an old man.
Right. Like, and who's the Hideo Kojima? Still in the game, and literally
Boom.
he's in the next game he's making.
He's going to be in the new
in
Super
Death
Smash Bros.
Stranding.
Switch. He's just going to come in and get beat up like real hard. I am a normal person. Why am I here? That's my Japanese accent.
Yeah, it's offensive. Anyway, I like that. I'm really interested in seeing where we take this, where the industry goes, because there have been so many good examples of, I mean, even not just like serious topics. Those have always been in games, of course, but just fatherhood being a concept,
A big
growing
concept
up
these times.
is being a
Yeah.
concept, like just kind of leaving childhood behind is a concept. Even like for a small example, Gone Home was about, she was a teenager, and you can personally disagree with what she did or whatever, but it's about her kind of becoming a little more mature
Yeah,
in a way, and
absolutely.
like kind of striking out on her own, or not, depending on which of the notes you actually read.
And video games. Oh, gosh.
Remember that?
Yes.
One of my favorite games of all time because of that.
Yeah.
It sticks with me. Anyway, go watch our Gone Home playthrough.
Yes.
And watch it through the end, and I'll explain what we're talking about right now, because it's really cool.
Also, just this abandonment of youth being innocent and pure.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
there was a time, for a long time, that kids were always good. But now we've got games like Little Nightmares or Limbo, where
Sure.
like we see these little kids, but there's something wrong with these little kids.
Something's wrong,
You know
or
what I
just
mean?
the world has affected them in a way that
Yeah.
meant they're not little kids, really. Like, I mean, the huge example of what we're talking about right now is The Last of Us.
Yeah.
It hits that idea of fatherhood and taking responsibility for something outside of yourself with Joel, but also Ellie, who is this small child who has seen so much, and has to deal with this harsh world, but also wants to be a child,
Wants to be a kid.
but also has this like knowledge that she is important beyond herself and needs to like there's a goal she has to reach and like yeah, it's just this concept. It's really cool, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. So let's discuss that a little bit. And...
So, and kind of just put a pin in exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that when video games first released, of course, adults, grown-ups, quote unquote, have always been making video games.
Yeah.
But there was a time in which people like Sony or Apple or whomever was releasing games at the time said, you make video games, but our demographic is a younger demographic, and therefore you need to appeal toward kids. And therefore games were for kids, and therefore stories were heavily based in myth and morality. And I mean, of course, there were some freelance gamers that made some serious
PC
games.
has always had a strong like adult demographic kind of thing.
But these days, as we get into a point where there are people that are in their 20s, 30s who have played video games their entire life.
Right.
It's part of who they are. It's literally always been like part of their essence. But now they're in a period of life in which being a kid and playing and mythos and fairy tale aren't as important to them. What defines their life now are being a parent, or dealing with serious struggles, or the darkness in the world around them. Like, these are real struggles that developers, both indie and AAA, get to step in. And again, now there are CEOs that grew up with video games. Maybe they're in their 40s and they started playing when they're 10 or whatever. Like, and they green light these really serious video games.
I think a big way to kind of just like talk about this, or a way to like microcosm what we're talking about, is think of who in the mid 90s, who your mascots were for your games. You had Mario, still here of course, always going to exist, but you had like Sonic, who was like, gotta run fast, and that's it. Like, he's just a fast blue hedgehog. You had Spyro. It's like just kind of this like
Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot's a huge one. Gex the gecko. I don't know if you guys have played Gex. You should. I love the Gex game. But he was just like this snarky, like, you know, movie quoting kind of like character. Didn't really have any depth to him.
Right.
And now, who are like the Sony major like mascots that you will see on their advertising? Kratos, who himself is now a father, and has felt the age hit him and has like this deep past. You have Aloy, who is a younger girl but has this huge like history behind her, and this like has to live in this harsh world where she, strike out on her own. Master
Chief will always be for Microsoft, but it's the same type of thing. Like,
I suppose, yeah. I laugh at that one, but I just don't play Halo. So but I don't take it too seriously.
Master Chief, which is unfair. Not a kid.
Like, sure. Yeah. I mean, like, he is an adult man.
He is a power
a bit of a power fantasy.
That's who he is, but like especially his relationship with Cortana.
Sure,
and,
yeah, that evolves.
They really play into like a lot of the much more mature themes, and like video games in general, even Nintendo, which is seen as like the kid
family game company.
They're still trying to take much more seriously, like Link.
Yeah.
Like Zelda had so much character and you could like really sense in Breath of the Wild that this is not a princess that needs to be saved.
Right.
Or not even just like in Ocarina of Time. They did a great job giving her character, but her character was still confident ruler. I am confident ruler,
essentially,
and I want to make sure Hyrule is safe. And this one, she is like this kind of neurotic and nerdy, like
interested in
mid-20s girl who really wants to do well, but is really
nervous about her ability to do
not self-confident.
Yeah, so for good reason, because she doesn't feel like what's happening or what should happen is happening. Like, yeah, people are taking even these characters that we've known forever and giving them a little more depth, which is a really fun thing if you actually care about what's happening. Which it's a big reason why I'm not a fan of like Call of Duty, or Destiny, or these major like PUBG, Fortnite. These games PUBG and Fortnite don't have stories, which is fine. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't play them. If they're fun and you like playing a game, go play it. I'm not saying, But I for one am a fan of storytelling, and storytelling necessarily needs characters you can reflect, you can see yourself in.
So in so many ways, we see the industry now having a focus on the 30-year-old male most often, because that's kind of the
Sure,
main
you
player.
generally write what you
Yeah,
know, and most
27-year-old male in
there
that
are a lot of
area.
women in the industry, but it's still mostly men.
Right. And so you see a lot of fatherhood, you see a lot of like trying to make a way for yourself in
Yeah.
the world. Especially actually with the games that have female leads, there is a lot of overcoming prejudice and
Sure.
overcoming people thinking that you are too weak to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Both Hellblade and Horizon dealt with that pretty heavily. Like some like literal voices in their head in some way.
Yeah.
Others like figurative voice in your head saying you're not good enough, you can't do this.
Right, right.
So
Or Aloy having to assert herself with other like tribes.
right.
Like, no, I'm me. I don't have to like you don't have I don't have to.
And these are all themes that 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, it's good that they're going to learn and they can see, but that's not what they're dealing with in their life.
Sure.
This is mostly geared toward adults. So my question to you, Fox, is
Oh, okay. Got a question.
yeah, in what way do you think you've seen this impact the industry the most? Like, if you can point your finger and say clearly this has impacted the industry because of this. Like, obviously the industry is targeting an older age group, and this is why I can say that is true.
I mean, you could see it in the award shows. Like, you had PUBG up there, but like, what really wins are these games that every single time are that people connect with.
Yes.
A game is fun to play, but really, you need to be able to connect with it in order to like have it have a lasting impact on you. And that like I see that in like games getting greenlighted now, like continuing to be like the idea of Kratos being older and having to like raise a child and like the consequences of his actions. That was always a thing in the other games, but I don't know if you played 2 or 3. The first one was a great Greek tragedy.
Right.
Great. The second and third ones
I didn't play the second or third ones.
were violence.
Yeah.
And I mean, they weren't just nothing, but they were violence and kind of lost that idea. But they were still hugely popular, and so I love the idea that, oh wait, no, we did something good. Let's go back to that. I even see it in like Final Fantasy 15. I see this theme of maturity and growing up throughout genres. Final Fantasy 15, whether you liked it or not, it attempted to try to take this young, immature kid, and like he had to see his place in the world and not shy away from the responsibilities he had, even though he wanted to just go on a road trip with his friends, but things could have been better, of course,
Right.
but that was what they went for, and I love it. But that's kind of how I see it, is like even your walking simulators, I mean, those generally are pretty story
Right.
heavy, but something like Firewatch. You didn't play Firewatch, but it's about a man he's a Firewatch guy. He goes up and spends a summer in a tower watching for fires, but throughout it, you learn about him. He's married, but his wife has like, if I remember correctly, she has some sort of disease. I think it's like essentially like what's it when you're older, when you start to degenerate in your brain?
Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's, essentially. Something similar to that, if it's not Alzheimer's. And it's him just trying to deal with like, do I want like my responsibilities I have? And throughout every single genre, it has come up where like these games that are like revered for their artistry are not Call of Duty. PUBG is not revered for the message it has.
Right.
It's fun to play, but it's not like held up as the best of what
Right.
video games have to offer. And I think another big example is the fact that they are now like legally considered art, which doesn't necessarily mean they're more mature. I mean, by definition,
they're
they
more
have to
taken
be
more seriously.
but they are taken more seriously, 100%.
For me, what really what I can point to is the amount of video games in which there is no happy ending.
Okay.
I feel like once upon a time, at least all games that I played, there would be sad moments and there would
Sure.
be like sad parts, but at the end of the day, it's okay.
The world is saved.
Everything's okay. But now we have games like Little Nightmares, where at the very end of the game, spoiler alert, skip ahead about 10 seconds if you want to, but at the very end of the game, you find out that you're the little nightmare.
Yeah.
And you are murdering everybody as you're exiting this boat.
Right.
In Last of Us, you know.
Such a good ending.
Oh my gosh. I loved
The
it.
fact that you hated it
Yes.
says to me that's a good ending.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you disagree with what he did, but also understand.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's exactly that. And in so many ways, like Final Fantasy VII, I was heartbroken, but they saved the day at the
But
end.
then they saved the day.
You know
and
what I
it was, bittersweet at some points.
Right.
But...
And you can point to so many games, and again, there are exceptions to the rule, but these days, I'd say it's pretty 50-50, that there's, maybe not 50-50, but you don't always, quote unquote, win. You know, there are times in which, like, Braid is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Where at the end of it, you find out that time's kind of been backwards, and this woman's been running from you. You're not chasing her; she's running from you. She doesn't want to be saved. You know, so like this, it's really, really interesting to see how much we're willing to tell real stories. And touching stories and heartbreaking stories,
right.
not just happy
To
ones.
the Moon. I don't know if you ever played To the Moon. It was a real simple. It was an RPG Maker game, but it wasn't an RPG. It was just kind of a like, and it just there was a person dying of cancer, and I didn't finish it, I don't think, but you're just kind of talking to him and learning about his life. I believe is what it was about. Yeah, and like these things that you generally like those who don't play video games would not consider to be in a video game.
Right.
They hear the idea of video game and think Grand Theft Auto, which, to be fair, Grand Theft Auto touches on some pretty strong themes.
Right.
It does it in an exaggerated way, but they think of killing people in Grand Theft Auto or 12-year-olds on Xbox Live throwing the N-word around, or like, these things that
or they think of Mario,
or Mario, or Zelda with a sword, and they think it's Zelda with a sword.
Yes.
Like they they don't consider video games to be art, whereas it is moving in a direction where I think more and more people are even if they don't play them, consider it to be art.
And so I think if I were to kind of define this, I'd say that the industry itself is moving away from mythos and fairy tale and morality tales, which I think we built on that a lot, and moving more into a reflection of life.
Right. You can do both at the same time.
You can do both at the same time, but
yes.
It's more important for them to reflect the reality of life than to give a power fantasy.
Right.
And again, you can do both. You can do both very well.
Yeah.
You can feel very powerful as
Kratos,
but it's going to tell a story.
You are going to care about that kid.
Right.
And I'm excited to be sad.
Man. Okay.
You and fatherhood games are not. You
no,
don't do them well.
Just because I am like being a dad is a big deal to me, and I want to be very clear. Not all dads are going to agree with me in the way I'm talking right now, and I don't want to say that any dads are worse or better or anything because of this. This is just a statement of me, but I am very emotionally connected to my kids. And to being a father. My emotions play a huge part in my being a father and my children. My wife and I made a financial decision not to have kids anymore, but as far as desire goes, we would probably never stop having babies just because we love kids.
I don't even have kids, and that sounds terrible. 1 or 2, please.
And so any games about fatherhood are going to impact me heavily emotionally. The intro to Last of Us, I cried. Just again, before the title screen, I was like, I think I remember texting Fox, like, this is what you have done to me.
What have you done?
How dare you?
Well, you don't blame me, because it's so good.
Oh, man, it was great.
Ellie's such a good character, and I'm so excited for 2.
I'm so excited for 2 for so many reasons. Yeah. Because, again, to move into the whole idea of, like, adulthood and whatnot, Ellie is becoming a young woman now.
She is. She is no longer, 14, 13?
Right. And you can see that they're going to give a kind of strong, and they made it a little bit in one of the previews, they made it a little bit on the nose with, this is a strong female character, i.e., look at this woman, she is huge, she is buff, she's muscular.
That one with where she's hanging.
Right.
Okay.
And,
she's also rescued, so.
Right. But, I mean, I'm assuming here, but I'm assuming that she's gonna join, and Ellie's gonna learn from her on more of a womanly side of things.
There's a very, very strong theory that that's Ellie's mom.
Oh, really?
There's also
Interesting.
evidence for it, but that's essentially what people are assuming.
So we'll see how that goes and whatnot. But parenting is such a huge part of video games these days.
Yeah.
And I don't think of any game. Like, again, we said there's exceptions to the rule for a lot of things. I can't think of a single exception to that rule in like the 80s and 90s where you're a parent overseeing your children. And the whole goal is for you to.
I didn't play a whole lot of games back then, but
Well, you didn't play any games in the 80s.
you're right. I was born in 1990.
Yeah.
I played a lot of games in the 90s, the later 90s. But yeah, everything on the N64 that I played was GoldenEye, Zelda, Smash Brothers.
There's another thing on just telling the demographic of video games is when I was a kid, they were either cartoons and toys that were made for video games or video games that were made because of the cartoons and toys. That was it. You know, there was a Battletoads show, so they made a Battletoads video game.
Yeah.
And there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoons, they made a TMNT video game.
Yeah.
And Transformers. Whatever. These days, it's like, no, we might make a movie. A real movie.
Your tie-ins are generally shovelware, and they're even getting less and less nowadays.
Right.
You don't see a video game for Doctor Strange.
Right.
You don't see a video game for Black Panther. You can probably make a cool video game out of that.
Right.
I'm surprised Disney hasn't done that. Like, they are all about the merch.
Well, and the shovelware that they
great,
do
though.
a lot of now are like
You got your-
mobile phone games. Like,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
that's true.
The
That's a good
Frozen
point.
game that I know is like a match 3 game, and what
Yeah.
they'll do is they'll
Yeah,
take
yeah.
any generic game. They'll just how can we slap a Frozen face on this?
Right.
Or-
It actually is probably one of the better things about the AAA video game industry becoming more expensive.
yes,
It
It's
weeds
not
out
worth
those
it.
people who are not interested in making a good game,
Yes,
which, you know, you could talk about that all day long because there's a million exceptions to that rule because there's a million AAA games that are also kind of stupid. But yeah,
So-
it does. Yeah, it's good.
so here's the truth, though. We see these games as we have them now because that's the general age of the developer now.
Roughly, yeah,
About
30s,
25 to
40s,
35,
50s.
somewhere in that area, you know,
Yeah.
on average. So here's a question for you, Fox, and what I think we can kind of talk about for the rest of the time here
Sure.
is what's going to happen in 20 years? What do you see gaming looking like as your average game maker is reaching the end of the life? Or there will always be game
There's
makers
always
in
younger,
this
but
area,
you're gonna
but
get, like, even now when you watch documentaries, if you watch anything on NoClip, all the people they talk to, those guys are in their 30s and 40s and 50s because they have been there long enough to get higher
Right.
up. So they're the lead directors, they're the writers. You know, programmers are always going to be there, and also probably young, but you can't, like, you need experience to kind of be able to write a story that reflects.
well, and there
a
will
lot of
be
times.
significantly more gamers that are of the elderly area.
You're always
you know?
writing for your audience as
Right.
well a lot of times. So yeah, I'm really excited for this because I think it needs more. I think it's what the industry needs to be taken more and more seriously. Video games are still very young compared to other art forms. Movies have been around for 120 years ish. Obviously, every other form, you know, art of any kind of painting or anything, that's thousands of years. But like, video games are the youngest mainstream medium of art, and so they need this time and need older people to kind of give them some maturity. And so I think that's really what's going to happen is as we get older, your themes are going to reflect like the idea of death and its impact on life.
Which is pretty total.
Right. Well, just no. I mean, the idea of
How does death impact life? Well, it ends it.
pretty heavily. No, like, okay, the looming specter of death.
Okay.
Just the idea that I don't have a whole lot of time left. What do I do? I mean, this is already kind of a thing with like Stardew Valley.
You were saying talking about that.
Yeah, I
before,
was talking about before that the cattle. I mean, it's a what's the game that is the farming games that it's a Harvest Moon. It's a Harvest Moon clone basically, but its catalyst, like story wise, is that your grandpa, I believe, is on his deathbed and gives you a note and it says, or don't open this. You'll reach a time in life when you're dissatisfied with life, or dissatisfied. Then open this, and it's when you get the farm that you go and. So it's just this. I love that kind of catalyst because it gives it a little more meaning of, no, this isn't just a hobby. This is like a new take on life, a new like, and I like that the wisdom that the older generations can give to the younger generations. I'm really excited for that to be a thing. Like, it'd be really cool if I would love it if at the end of God of War, of this new God of War, Kratos dies.
Right.
Or is somehow, he becomes an actual ethereal god.
Right. Ascends.
Yeah. And I mean, that would be a pretty radical change to the God of War formula. They could do it now. It'd be fine. Especially they're in a whole new place. But then the next couple games are his son.
Atreyu or whatever his name is.
It's not Atreyu. That's
something
that's
that.
Never Ending Story guy, right? And a band from like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of being able to see him in the second game growing up, early 20s, and remembering what his father has taught him. And then even later on in life, and just seeing reflections, seeing the cycle of like wisdom from your older.
You could even do a J.J. Abrams style thing, and like where he has flashbacks, and you can now play as Kratos, teaching your son how to do this stuff, and that way you can still play as Kratos, but in the narrative, you still just feel just as heavily like, oh, that's a memory of my dad, and he's not here anymore.
Right? Yeah, I would love if The Last of Us Part 2 did that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I miss Joel, but like you see Joel in Ellie now a little bit, and just like that idea of growing up.
Yeah.
There's a movie that came out a few years ago called Boyhood. I don't know if you ever saw it, but the concept is it took 12 years. It was filmed over 12 years with the same actor as the main character, and then like he wasn't an actor, he was a kid.
Okay.
And then it had actors as the other people. And it filmed him growing up through his life. The same person. So it started when he's like 6 years old.
Wow.
And then at the end of the movie, he's going off to college. And it's the same guy. Apparently it was okay. Like, I don't know, I didn't see it, but I like that concept of seeing continuity and just being able to see choices earlier on in life that have effects down the road, more than just the whole like telltale kind of thing where it's like, well, you did this to that guy, and so now he's angry at you. More of like a more conceptually, and I think that's kind of what we'll see as we grow older. Like, old people reflect on life a lot and can see what even we as younger people can see, like moments in our life that changed who we are or how things went. And I really think video games can do something cool like that, where if we make the choices, then we have to deal with the consequences in a long range kind of thing. And I think that's something that could come into play, which I'd be really excited for. What about you?
I would really like to see, and I really hope we get, in the same way that Hellblade, which again is one of my greatest of all time games, the way that it helped people understand mental illness. There are so many people that came forward and said, I didn't get what my dad was going through. I didn't get, or I couldn't explain what I'm going through. And then I had them play your game, or I played your game, and now it makes sense to me. I want to see something like that is about an elderly person reminiscing on his younger days. Or it's an elderly person having to go through so many things, growing up, and like you see all these little flash forwards or flash to present of him doing things that we see what we consider elderly people doing, and we're like, oh, why are you like that? Like, oh, you're such an old man or whatever. Like,
sure.
20 years from now, we see a guy and he is really like mistrusting of like brown colored people like myself.
Sure.
But then you play through a flashback of him in Iraq or him in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And you have to play through him needing to be that mistrusting nature and how he just hasn't quite gone over that. And or little things like that, where so many times we judge the elderly because of they're set in their ways, but we also forget of how much life they've experienced.
Right.
How much they've gone through, and to be able to see things from their eyes, or at the same time being able to perceive things from like have a video game with that much wisdom behind it, that much experience behind it. Really interested to see where that goes.
The point of art is to connect and reflect humanity. And when somebody has lived for 70 years, they've got 70 years worth of humanity and experience to put in their art. And I think it'll be great. I think the downside is that those kind of stories are not. We've been talking about Hellblade. That's still an action game.
Yeah.
You're still fighting people pretty often. Not constantly like
Right.
other games. Or The Last of Us. We say it's about fatherhood and like maturity and taking responsibility for yourself, but the main gameplay is shooting monsters.
Right.
And so that's going to be the hard part, is finding out a way to get people interested in playing these games more than just the indie industry is getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
It's great, actually.
I love
which
it.
It's a good thing. Like, it makes this future of old people, because those stories, I mean, a flashback war veteran, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. But just kind of like somebody reflecting on life. Like, it just doesn't have that action pop that you would think like would be in a game.
Right.
How many people do you get to shoot when you're just a father teaching your son how to live life? You know?
Or even like, I could see a game called Stories, and it begins, and maybe even you start the game as like this 7-year-old boy or girl running around, and then it runs in a house and grandpa's there, and you do something and you start to cry or whatever, and grandpa sits you down and he says, well, you shouldn't cry because when I was a kid, and then all of a sudden it's a flashback, and now you're playing grandpa as a kid,
okay.
and you play through like an important moment in his life, and I see it as kind of like a Heavy Rain
There you
type
go.
style
Those
type game.
Those are really good, and those are still going. Detroit Become Human comes out soon.
Right, that style of game, and you are immediately put in the shoes of the grandson, so you feel as the player, okay, I am not the one who has these stories. I'm the one who's supposed to be told these stories and experiencing these stories secondhand, and then you experience them secondhand via a controller.
Right.
And I could see a game like that being really cool.
Sure.
And then maybe the game ends at Grandpa's funeral or something like that.
Yeah, there's a billion possibilities.
Yeah.
When you have an entire person's life to reflect on, you can literally say anything or tell any story.
Right.
And even these things don't even need to be restricted to quote unquote real life. You have Last of Us and you have God of War, which are entirely fantasy,
Yes.
but still telling extremely human stories. Even God of War 1 does. Like a man's pride and a man's ego and a man's willingness to conquer coming at a price when he makes a bad deal and kills his family on accident. It's a little extreme, but it's still just consequences of your actions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd also say that I would see the future, and I think this is a very good thing. I think we already kind of touched on this, but a whole lot less. What's the word I'm looking for? Licensed games.
Sure.
Where it has to do with like the shovelware game because it's the Frozen knockoff,
right?
Or it's the Black Panther knockoff, or whatever else. A lot less of that, because it's more important to people to experience. Like if you have a choice between going through the movie that you already saw again or experiencing a really like compelling narrative.
Oh man, that's easy to say.
Yeah.
But a game costs $60 now, and it's probably just going to go up at the next console. And over 20 years, we're going to get another 2 or 3 consoles, and video games are going to start costing $80, $100 each. So,
but my point is, playing through the video game that's based on the movie that you've already seen. Like, why would you do that?
But you like that movie, and you don't know if you like
yeah,
the
I
game.
see what you're saying. Yeah,
that's the hard part.
Yeah.
That's why this whole reboot thing is every movie now, because people already know what it is and they know they like it.
I will say this:
people know what Wrinkle in Time is, and it comes out and it's trash. But
that's one of the beauties of YouTube and Let's Play gaming.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, a lot of the games I play these days is because I watch somebody else play a little bit of it first.
Sure, yeah.
And it looks great.
give you a concept.
So, I mean, if you're listening to this, support your local YouTuber. I'm not going to say who you should support really heavily, but it should be somebody.
Christopher Odd.
I'd be okay with that.
That's the only one I
actually.
can think of.
He's great.
I don't think
do
there are
love
any other
Mr. Odd.
YouTubers.
Yeah, no other YouTubes. Or extra credits.
Sure.
Or us. Please support us.
No, we're bad.
Financially. Really, just send me money.
Send me money.
P.O. Box.
Send me
I don't
green.
have a P.O. Box.
Make a contribution, and you'll get a better seat.
Yeah.
It's a Metallica song. It's called Leper Messiah. It's off of Master of Puppets.
Ah, well, there you go.
With that, I think we're...
That caps our conversation.
Yes,
Metallica's Master of Puppets.
They're a bunch of old men, and it's reflected in their songs now. So
Is it?
I don't know. Not really.
No? Okay. Well, tell us what you guys think, especially because I know a lot of our listeners are like 14 in that age area. Yeah. Let us know what you think about how games these days, do you identify, can you like play The Last of Us or watch The Last of Us and really feel connected to Joel?
Yeah.
Or is that something that being a dad is kind of beyond you, you know? Or maybe you're like me, maybe you're a father and you've played these games and maybe you're all about this, or maybe you think that this is too serious for this type of venue.
Right.
Tell us what you think.
Right. Yeah, we want to know, like, I'm interested in where you think it's going to go, and if you could write a game, what would you write it about? Like, that's what it is. Like, generally when we write what we know.
Right.
And so if you were to write a game, what would you write it about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. We've said it before, we don't pay to advertise. We don't do anything like this. So when you guys tell other people about this podcast, it really helps us. When you listen to an episode that you think is really great and you share it with a friend, that really helps us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your support. And we'll see you guys next time. Remember, save games, save lives.
See you later, guys.